And what's going on, guys? Kale here, coming at you with another video today. Well, first and foremost, for those of you new to the channel, I am an endgame player with 3 accounts, all in the endgame, kind of in varying TCPs and kind of at various starting points. So today we are looking at my middle account. So we're on Vermithor over here, and I've kind of had a little bit of a request as far as how I'm managing the Doom raids and how that all is going. So I figured between the 3 accounts, we should be able to get most of the nodes kind of covered today. So like I mentioned, we're on Vermithor, so that's kind of the middle account. Both my middle account and my baby account are pretty much free to play. So when we're looking at Vermithor over here, Vermithor is going to be in the 21 mil range, and yeah, so let's just jump into it. We're currently running a Doom 3.4 push raid. My alliance in particular is, kind of working on probably doing this content a little bit more frequently, and hopefully, we'll be able to get to the point where this is basically ran 7 days a week, and push days will essentially become starting to push towards 60%. My alliance also runs kind of a little bit of a unique strategy, and we only run the left side of the raid. It just makes it a lot easier for sustainability. Now, when the pretty much rest of the mutant team comes out for Death Seed, we will probably go to a normal, left and right lane system. But for now, we are going with that. So I'm actually going to, I'm going to wait and see if Saga over here is able to finish this node. If that is the case, I will jump in over here, and we can kind of talk about it a little bit. So, skill, in particular, is a little tricky. Not that it's necessarily challenging per se. It's very RNG dependent, and what I mean by that is, one day you might be able to go through and full clear skill, and the next day you get wiped on the first. Well, the first node is pretty easy, but the next day you get wiped on the second node, and there's kind of some things to I guess be conscious of is that. You can really only develop your skill team so much. On Vermithor in particular, I could take Maria Hill up to G15, or I'm sorry, G16 rather. Definitely an option. There is kind of not a lot of skill characters at the moment that basically are required for G16, G17. So you can be a little bit more liberal when you're spending that gear. All right, so Saga was able to complete that node, so we're good there. So I'm going to go into this node over here. It's already been started by 2 of my alliance mates. Now, hopefully, going into skill nodes, especially the second node, can be a little nerve-wracking, just because if the node isn't set up correctly, you can kind of walk into a situation where Deathpool has 5 charges, and she'll, one-shot whoever she chooses to attack. So hopefully we're not in that situation. But this node is a little tricky, and it's not so much the first wave. The first wave is pretty simple. It becomes more of a challenge when the wave drops that has Ghost Rider and Carnage. So we're kind of lucky. We are still in the first wave here, so I don't have to worry about there being a monster Deathpool with her 5 charges. It's still this first wave, so we'll clean this up. This one I kind of just basically get rid of them as quick as I can. Some targets that are of concern on this node is going to be Morbius as well as Silver Samurai over here. Luckily, though, coming into this node, it was already pretty well taken care of. So looking at it here, Deathpool over here spawned with 3 charges. So that means that whoever came into this node prior to me, Deathpool actually did drop. So we're going to have to keep an eye on her. She can become quite dangerous if she does get to her 5 charges, and we obviously don't want that. So prime targets for me on this one are going to be Ghost Rider and Carnage. I normally target Ghost Rider first, and I will, for the most part, normally I'll tend to kind of avoid AoE if it's looking like the risk of characters are going to die without Ghost Rider dying. Basically, if you kill more than, I would say, 2 targets with an with an AoE attack, and Ghost Rider is still alive, he is probably going to ping the character that killed at least 2 plus targets pretty much to death. So this, I would say, is probably not a fair representation of how this node normally goes, mainly because I'm just kind of going in here cleaning up. But what I would say is that if you run into this node and, based off of that first wave, sometimes what'll happen is one character in particular will get targeted by like all the bleeds. And if this does happen, what I would do in that instance was I would actually just go in and I would quit the battle and I would do the retreat option. And basically that has you back out of the match. You lose the raid energy, but all of your characters, they don't take any damage. If anyone died, they're still alive, etc. And something else to be mindful on this node is, before the Ghost Rider, not so much Ghost Rider, but until you kill the Carnage, you don't want to summon any summons with Maria Hill. Because her summons are so squishy that pretty much any attack is going to take them into the red, which is going to give speed bar to Carnage. And once Carnage gets some speed bar, if he happens to kill one of those summons, then it's going to ping Deathpool's passive, she's going to attack someone, and it just creates this really nasty snowball effect that you definitely want to avoid. So, kind of a couple things. If you do have a character kind of get nuked at the very beginning of that fight, I think it's better to just back out and retreat, and then kind of just go back in and kind of chalk it up to AoE, or RNG rather. And if you are able to basically get that first node down and you're kind of tag teaming this situation, try not to have the death pool build up charges, because you don't want a teammate to kind of go in there, death pool is fully charged, and then she one-shots one of your characters. It's a crappy situation to be in. I know it happens, but if you can avoid it, and what I'll say is when that second wave drops, I would say high priority targets should be Ghost Rider, followed by Carnage, followed by Deathpool, and then the rest of it is kind of easy cleanup. Alright, so we're going into the boss node. This boss node has not been touched yet, so kind of typical Doom boss node. If you are unable to get the ability block on Doom, or if you kind of drop him down too quickly, which occasionally happens, which I just did here. Once he does his time platform, we are just going to quit out. It's the easiest way to kind of do this. It makes the node a lot easier to just kind of go back in after he's time platformed. And it's just simpler that way. So we did get him to do his time platform quickly. Sometimes I forget. I normally don't do Shang-Chi's ultimate because of how built my Shang-Chi in particular happens to be. It normally knocks Doom into the yellow, so I normally would only do either the basic or the special. Now, because today is a push day, and for the most part, I don't really run into any problems outside of bio. I'm just going to heal up Shang-Chi and Maria. Cap Sam should be okay. Normally, if this was a non-push day, I wouldn't do this, and I would just kind of go back in. And between the other 7 players in this section, we should be able to clear the boss node. But it is a push day, so I don't mind spending a little raid heals. But on a normal day, I would not be doing this. So now, Doom is obviously not as big of a threat now because he's already done his time platform. So, believe it or not, the largest threat on this side is actually going to be Madeline Pryor, which is pretty crazy because she sucks as far as when she's player controlled. But, as a raid enemy, she's quite strong. And she hits like a freight train. So I wanted to get rid of her quick. Now, Carnage should be dropping pretty quickly. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to heal up just a little bit. Because Carnage should be dropping with the next enemy I kill, if I'm not mistaken. It'll be Carnage, Emma Frost, and a couple others. There we go. So we've got our Carnage down. Now again, Carnage always becomes a high priority in the skill section, and I should be able to get him down pretty quickly. Let's see. We should do the ult over here. And Carnage is pretty much dead. So we're pretty much good there. So now that Carnage is gone, we're good. I'm now going to kind of go on over to Morbius. And again, Morbius, you know, he's a pretty good character in the hands of the player. His bleeds do hit for a lot, though, especially in 3.4. So I do want to kind of get rid of Morbius as kind of quickly as possible. So we got Morbius down. Emma's going to do her special. And we actually should be looking at the next Carnage and the next Madeline Pryor. So again, Madeline Pryor, Carnage are going to become high priority targets. And let's see, there's like insane turn meter going on right now with Carnage. Yeah, we are going to quit out of this one. It is looking ugly. And again, this is one of those things where you do really have to be careful with the with the summons. And you know, I chose to do the summons. It's kind of on this node in particular, it's kind of hit or miss. So I went in. Obviously, that was a little bit of a miss, but it's all good. It'll be an easy cleanup at this point. I could honestly, like I said, you know, let my alliance mates kind of finish this node, but I'm going to just go in. It is a 3-tap, which is a little bit much, but it is 3.4. It's not normally... it's a little easier, I guess, on 3.3. But if I was to just kind of back out, and again, if this was not a push day, this should be an easy cleanup for one of my alliance mates. And again, that's why we run kind of a one-sided system, is because, you know, 30% is pretty easily obtainable when literally all 8 of the players are on the same side, and we essentially only run 2 lanes that are like official. We do have what we call bonus lanes in the certain sections that are a little bit on the easier side. But anyway, so as you're seeing here, Madeline Pryor, you know, hitting like a truck. We did lose Cap Sam. This is kind of one of those situations. This is basically a bad RNG with Cap Sam kind of being nuked down like that. But we should still be able to kind of finish this up, clean it up a little bit, and kind of go on our way. So basically from here, we will go into bio, and the first bio node is pretty simple. For the most part, there is a couple suggestions, I guess I would have with bio, and we might actually... So I don't have... We do have the second bio node. Just kind of looking at the 3 accounts right now. Yeah, so we have the first and second bio node on Vermithor, and then we should be able to do the third node at some point. So anyway, let's hop into the first bio node. So we'll go in over here. All right, so there's pretty much, you know, one bio team that is really going to work. That's going to be your Web Warriors. Again, I would really kind of caution about kind of overdeveloping this team at this point. Not because I think they're going to get replaced, but because there's Gamma, and, you know, Apocalypse is going to most likely be a very important character. I would at least certainly hope so. They've been building up for him for over a year, essentially, by the time he gets released. So you definitely want to be able to take your Gamma characters to G16, G17 first, and then after that, you know, I would certainly say the Web Warriors are at least worthy of G16. So let's go in. This first node is, as I said, pretty simple. It's kind of a little misleading as far as what the threats are on this node, and there is an Ultron that spawns, and Ultron, I would say, would be a threat if it wasn't for the dodge mechanic of the Web Warriors. So the Web Warriors, by the time Ultron spawns, should actually have quite a few dodges kind of stacked up. So believe it or not, your bigger threats are actually the enemy Web Warriors. So I go in, I get the Disrupted over here on Drax. I'm just going to kind of go in and spread that a little bit. And kind of my big threat characters on this one are going to be Ghost because of her pings, and then Spider-Punk at the moment because he does have a couple unavoidable attacks. And the main goal initially is to basically get this taunt off Drax or to kill him. And you'll see pretty much everyone else dropped pretty quickly, which is good. So we've got obviously our Ghost Spider still, we have Spider-Punk, and in a second, a Scarlet Spider will drop. And he'll be kind of another high target, as he does have a couple unavoidable attacks as well. So what I'm going to go in, I'm going to try to stun Ghost Spider, and again, this is RNG dependent. Doesn't always happen. I'm now going to switch over, and I do want to ability block Spider-Punk, just because he's getting ready to do his ultimate, and that's the one that puts the heal block and trauma, and I definitely don't want that going on my team. I do need to heal up a little bit, so we're going to do a little bit of AoE damage, and you'll notice here I am kind of technically avoiding Ultron, and basically what's going to happen is Ultron on his turn is going to summon his adds, and the adds are basically going to do the speed up, attack up, and all that stuff. And what's then going to happen is Ultron is going to do his ultimate. And normally, I would say this would be like instant kill, especially in 3.4. But with the Web Warriors having all of their dodges up, the ultimate actually misses, and it's not a big deal. And because the ultimate misses and Ultron doesn't kill anyone, he doesn't get any of his ability energy back. So, he becomes really easy to just kind of kill a second time. And you'll see here, we'll slow down to 1. He's going to do his ultimate here, and it's going to miss. Dodge, perfect. And Ultron now is basically neutered. He is going to die once, and because he didn't kill anyone, Ultron actually has really long cooldowns, so he doesn't get to do anything else. So really, in this node, your bigger threats are the Web Warriors, and you definitely want to get an ability block on Spider-Punk. That way he doesn't put out that trauma and heal block. And if you can stun Ghost Spider, that's definitely going to mitigate some of the damage you're getting. Once those two things have been accomplished, I then like to go down and kind of nuke down Scarlet Spider. And that's because his ultimate is unavoidable, and I think it's undodgeable, and all that stuff. So that pretty much always hits. Now we're going to go in and we are going to talk the second node. Now, this is probably the hardest bio node. And again, it's kind of about the kill order and really just not being, not necessarily afraid, but going in and killing a certain character and then basically quitting the match and just kind of doing it as a safe 2-tap versus kind of risking it as a single tap and then basically have your team get wiped. I think the 2-tap is a lot more reliable. It's easier, and yeah, we're going to talk about that. So what I'm going to do, first and foremost, I'm going to go in, I do the ultimate, and I basically want the Disrupted on Beast. I will then also go in with Ghost Spider and get the ability block going, and that's just basically to stop him from healing a little bit. And what I'm going to do from here is I'm actually going to switch on over to Moondragon, and the reason I'm doing that is Moondragon, her special is actually going to clear positive buffs from your Web Warriors. So whoever she chooses to target is basically going to lose all their dodges and, all that stuff. So really my goal here is to hopefully nuke her down before she gets a turn. So let's see if we are able to do that. She obviously has immunity. So, I know that wasn't going to land the stun, but it does do a lot of damage, so I was kind of hoping on that. Let's see. Do we get to go before her? Probably not. No, so we missed that. So you see there, she cleared pretty much all of my positive effects, and that's where it becomes really dangerous. So what we need to do now, we need to get some heals up. So I'm going to do an AoE and kind of get some heals. Okay, we're good there. We will get another AoE going, hopefully some more heals. Didn't realize Scarlet Spider was blinded, so I wasn't paying attention. So I lost Ghost Spider. I am going to go ahead and quit out. This probably would have been one where I would actually retreat. But I did a fair bit of like good damage, so I'm okay with kind of just taking the loss, and I'll basically res Ghost Spider. Now, if this wasn't a push day raid, I would have done the retreat and kind of chalked it up to bad RNG. So we'll go back in, we'll heal Ghost Spider up, and pretty much after the first two sections, at least for me personally, I find the rest of the Doom raids to be fairly easy. So I don't mind kind of going through my 500 heals kind of in these first two sections. Obviously, Mutant is a nightmare still, and especially in 3.4, but I'll try to save some heals for Mutant, but, anyway. So we are waiting to load in. All right. So again, I am still going to go back towards Moondragon over here, and I just don't like what she does on this node. I am going to save for the most part. Everyone is pretty healed up, so I'm going to avoid kind of AoE attacks. With Web Warriors, you want to kind of think of their AoE as how they heal. So I typically will try to avoid AoE attacks if I don't need any like big heals. All right, now, this wave dropped, which is the important wave. Scarlet Spider is getting a beating over here. That is unfortunate. Let's see. All right. This is a little challenging. Let's see if we can maybe nuke down Phoenix to at least set up for the final tap. We'll get a big AoE kind of attack here, which Scarlet Spider is actually dead now, so that's not going to do any healing, which is really kind of unfortunate. All right, this is a bad second tap. This, I honestly don't know. I don't know if that was just bad RNG that Scarlet Spider got, like, beaten like that. Let's see. If I'm not able to take out Phoenix, what I'll do here is this will be one of the instances where, I will do the retreat option. Let's see. Yeah, this is just some bad RNG here. So we're going to retreat. Basically what that does is, we obviously back out of the fight. We do lose the raid energy, but my team is still, basically at full health. So I don't have to worry about that. Let's go in. This will probably be the last attack on Vermithor, at least for the time being. We'll go in. I can then, on Vhagar, I can show a second tap for the boss node. And then I might pause a little, and when I get back, I'll do kind of the second attempt for the boss node on Vermithor, depending on how this node goes here. Alright, so we're actually going to switch this up a little bit. Jubilee, just owned Scarlet Spider, and I think part of that was because she did her ultimate, or not her ultimate, rather her special, which is going to be unavoidable. We are going to kind of spread some slows. We don't need the heals, but getting some slows kind of out there would have been nice. Also wasn't paying attention, and everyone has immunity, but anyway. Let's go ahead and drop Jubilee. And then we will basically go back to focusing on Moondragon over here. All right. So we got Phoenix down, or Phoenix has dropped. Now, Phoenix it's kind of where that two-tap kind of mentality comes in. So basically what my goal now is to basically get Phoenix down, get her to turn into Dark Phoenix, because once that actually happens, if you quit out of the match, when you go back in, Dark Phoenix is a summon, so summons actually don't persist through matches. So if you get Dark Phoenix to drop and you quit, when you go back in, the Phoenix part of it will be gone, and it just makes the node a lot easier. So I am doing some AoE here just to get some heals up. And we are healed up a little bit, so now we will then kind of go in and focus on Phoenix, and we should be able to get her to drop. Hopefully Scarlet Spider over here doesn't die again. We'll get a nice little heal with the ultimate. We should be getting a nice little heal. There we go. Okay, and this should actually drop Phoenix. And immediately, I know she's gone. I'm going to lose the fight and basically avoid Phoenix doing her special. And now going into this node, this will be an easy cleanup. And you can basically just kind of go in. The rest of the characters are pretty easy to take care of, and it's a pretty easy, initial tap. So what I'm going to do, we are going to switch on over to Veigar. And Veigar is my original account, so it is my largest of the 3 accounts. It is the account I do occasionally spend on, and I have my largest TCP is on Veigar, so 25 million, almost 26 million now at this point. So this is the main account. And it just so happens where Veigar is raid-wise, my raid team has kind of already cleared the first 2 sections for the most part. So we're only just on the boss node, and it looks like it's just an easy cleanup. So I'll go in here, clean this up pretty quickly, and when I come back, I should have some energy on Vermithor, and we can kind of talk about the kind of initial tap of this boss node, as well as possibly the second tap on the second node. Following that, we will drift into Tech, and then I think the other 2 sections, I mean, Mystic I think is pretty simple. I don't really think that requires a lot of explanation, but if it does, I can certainly, do a Mystic video, and then Mutant is just, I mean, it's not even worth talking about, really. What I will say on this node, I typically, if you're going into this on a first attempt, what I do like to do is I like to save Spider-Punk's ultimate so I can land the trauma on Icarus, and that way he can't kind of full heal himself. But that's obviously not needed, as this was a perfectly set up node. As you're seeing here, I'm just really able to easily go in. I don't care about cooldowns now at this point because it is the final node, literally also the final enemy. So this was a beautiful setup. Who set this node up, I will take a look afterwards, but it was a perfect setup. So this is, one of those instances where why having the full alliance on the left side makes things pretty simple, especially when you have a sweet setup like this. So I'll go in, we will finish taking out Cersei, and give a little shout out to whoever set up this node so beautifully, and then we will kind of go back over to Vermithor and either finish up that node if it hasn't been done, or we will talk about the boss node and how to basically set up for a good second tap, or even sometimes if you get good RNG, how to one tap it. But let's see, finish loading this real quick, and so JDT, thank you for the beautiful setup on that one, and I will be right back with the either second tap of that second bio node or the first tap on the boss node. And we are back, everyone. So while we were away, one of my alliance mates cleaned up Node 2 for me. So we're going to go in and kind of at least attempt a single tap for the boss node. Worst case scenario, we'll at least have it set up for a second tap for the next person. And then following that, we are going to go switch on over to Vagar, and we will look at the tech section, and I think that'll probably wrap up this little Doom walkthrough, because I think those are kind of all the sections that really, require, somewhat of an explanation, I guess. Mainly I would say skill and bio are probably, of the, 5 sections, are probably the hardest. But anyway, so starting off here, I like to kind of start off, I go after Ebony Maw first, and I'm in a situation, like I said, kind of with the previous node, I'm going to save those AoE attacks for when I'm in the need of healing. And the reason I'm targeting Ebony Maw first is he does have the ability to put Disrupted on the Web Warriors, and we obviously don't want that. Disrupted on the Web Warriors is like almost certain death, and we don't want that. So I am going to use the ult here. I wanted to clear the death proof off Maw and make sure I could kind of take him out, which I did. I'm now going to go and I'm going to switch on over to Phyla-Vell, mainly due to her ability to cleanse. And pretty much all we're really doing here is we're kind of just building up cooldowns for when Icarus drops. And Icarus will probably, not probably, but he basically becomes the highest priority target as far as this node goes. So yeah, we do have a little bit of damage here, so I am going to kind of go in and do a little bit of an AoE attack, just kind of get some healing up. It is important. The Web Warriors obviously do have a lot of dodge in their kits. However, they are fairly squishy. So when you don't have a lot of dodges on the field, you definitely want to kind of make sure that they are topped off at pretty much almost all times. So we're at that point. I am going to finish off Phyla-Vell over here. Alright, regular Spider-Man is now unstunned, so she'd actually start building up some more of those dodges. And really kind of just what we're doing, like I said, we're just kind of slowly working down what's on the field. Currently, I would say probably my priority target right now is going to be Surfer. He is starting to build up a little bit of speed. And the other one I kind of want to watch out for as well is Proxima. And I don't want Proxima stunning anyone, which I believe she already did. I honestly wasn't paying too much attention, but I'm pretty sure Proxima already used her stun. We did have our Icarus drop over here, so let's go ahead and get some slow on him real quick. And now basically, kind of what I'm looking to get accomplished is, I want to get that trauma out and a heal block. And basically what that's going to do is that's going to stop Icarus from healing when he drops down to the yellow. So we do have that ultimate available. Hopefully this lands. Occasionally it does get resisted. Was not the case here. So now that he has that trauma and heal block, I'm not as scared of him anymore. So what I want to do, I am going to get an ability block. I don't want him doing his ultimate. But now that he's ability blocked, traumaed, heal blocked, and all that fun stuff, he's pretty much neutered. So, believe it or not, the one that becomes a bigger problem here is actually Star-Lord T'Challa. He does hit pretty hard, so I want to get him out of the way, which we got him there. And then again, kind of like on the previous node, you do want to watch out for Moondragons. They do have the ability to wipe out those dodges and positive effects. Now, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this Icarus here, and just because that will basically kind of neuter the Cersei as well. And we might run into a situation, mainly because I'm running my mouth, but we might time out here. So what I'm doing now is, again, I'm going after the new Star-Lord T'Challa. Again, he does hit pretty hard with his ultimate, and worst case scenario, this will be an easy cleanup for whoever kind of comes in and two-taps this node. But Normally, I would say if I'm not talking, I can normally kind of manage the one tap. There is still kind of a situation where it does look like Star-Lord T'Challa does kind of have that phantom buff where he has that dodge that doesn't really exist. So just kind of be aware of that as well. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to keep the AoE going. And like I said, I am going to time out here. But this will be a really easy cleanup for whoever kind of comes in after me. So yeah, but that's pretty much how I manage this node. And like I said, if I'm not kind of talking it out and kind of explaining what I'm doing, this node typically I'm able to one-shot. Kind of when you're talking and explaining it out, I mean, things do go a little bit slower, but you see there, just 3 easy enemies. I'm pretty much almost at full health as well, so this will be really easy cleanup for whoever comes in behind me. So we are going to transition over to Vhagar, and we are going to look at the tech section. And again, tech section, fairly easy. I want to get a full node in, so I am actually going to kind of go into the bonus tech lane, which is this one right down here for my alliance. And tech, pretty straightforward. You are going to want to use the Bionic Avengers. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts about that one. And another kind of benefit, I guess, of not the Young Avengers, but the Bionic Avengers is there isn't currently a required apocalypse tech team. So you can kind of G16 them, but I will caution, you do want to watch out for the ones that use the gamma radiation. And if they use the gamma radiation, I would say that the gamma team should be a higher priority for G16, because they'll also need them for G17 as well. So I would hold off on hold, basically G16ing essentially Iron Man and Vision. Those are the 2 that use the gamma radiation. But the other 2, I mean, if you have the G16 pieces, I would say go ahead. Since there isn't currently a tech team or any tech characters that are needed for G16 for the Apocalypse Saga that is upcoming. So just kind of, I guess, keep that in mind. We're going to go in and load on up. And this first node is, I would say, pretty straightforward. Really the only thing you're kind of want to be mindful of is when you get towards the end of the node, I think it is important to start worrying about cooldowns, as you do want there are some key abilities you do want available kind of on turn 1 when you go into a node. And those abilities are going to be the special for Deathlock. You're going to want the ultimate available for Vision. You're going to want the ultimate available for Viv. And I would say the special available for Hulkbuster. And I would say these are kind of like the key abilities that this team really uses to kind of get going. And Iron Man is kind of cool in the sense where I would say his abilities you can kind of just, spam. There isn't really a need to kind of preserve them. So I go in here, I do ability block Nico, and that's just I don't want to get any disrupts on the field. And now I'll basically just kind of start cleaning up. I'll take out Wong, and pretty much when the full next wave drops, and I get to around the 6th enemy point, I'll kind of start saving my cooldowns, at least the ones I mentioned. So I'm going to go in, I'll ability block Spider-Woman over here as well, and we're going to go in and ability block Wasp, and I will go in and basically finish off Wong over here. And I'm going to use the ultimate because, like I said, I do want that special available on turn 1 for Hulkbuster, but I do also still want to generate ability energy. And I am going to save the special because I want that available on turn 1 for the next one, as that does kind of get them their initial good round of buffs going. So again, we're saving the ultimate here. But luckily, with Iron Man, his cooldowns end up getting refreshed really quickly. So I don't feel the need to really save his cooldowns as much as the others. And like I said, it's just those kind of the the abilities I mentioned. So, like, if Deathlock's ultimate becomes available again, I don't mind using that. I just want to make sure that that special is available. And kind of, again, the same thing with Vision. I don't necessarily need his ability block on turn 1, but I do want to make sure I have that ultimate. Okay, let's see what we got. So we have got no choice but to take out Colossus over here. And yeah, so I mean, this is pretty much this fight. Nothing kind of too groundbreaking on this one. This one is pretty easy. I do find the second node to be sometimes a little RNG dependent, especially if you don't have the cooldowns mentioned available on turn 1. And then the boss node kind of goes one way or the other. Again, I think it's kind of RNG. It's definitely, obviously, a very easy 2-tap, and occasionally it's a fairly simple 1-tap, at least at my level of investment currently. All right, so at this point, you only have one enemy left, so at this point you can kind of save all cooldowns. You don't need to go blowing anything. And we'll go into the second node. And then I don't think, I can, I'll see kind of, I guess, where I am energy-wise, but we could also maybe hop on Balerion and look at the Mystic nodes. They are, I think, pretty simple. I don't think they really require all that much. We can talk about them if there's an interest. Which I think I do. Yeah, I've got the energy for it looking at Balerion over here. So yeah, we'll do the Mystic section also, just to make this, I guess, an all-encompassing video. Obviously, this is getting towards the long side of things, so I definitely don't want to make this too long. But yeah, so we'll finish up these next 2 tech nodes, and then we'll hop on over to Balerion and look at the Mystic section, which again I think is pretty simple, but might as well just kind of get it all out of the way while we're doing it. All right, so we did have a little bit of bad RNG, so Deathlock did get an ability blocked here. That is pretty unfortunate, as having his special available really kind of gets this team to kind of start moving. So we'll see how we do. This might be one of those situations where we retreat and kind of chalk it up to bad RNG and kind of start over. But we'll try to see how we do. Looking here, I typically tend to go after like this first row. Once I get the first row kind of all blinded, I then kind of shift my focus to the back row. And the reasoning is because, Viv, the way her ultimate works, it does a whole line. So the front line is basically all blinded. And when you extend it with Iron Man, they're basically blinded for 2 turns. And in a lot of cases, like 2 turns, once the Bionic Avengers get rolling, is really enough to kind of take out a section, as you're kind of seeing here. So we'll pop in with the ultimate, give them some speed up. And basically, this first wave is pretty much done. Very similar to the bio section, you do want to watch out for the Star-Lord T'Challas. They do hit pretty hard, and you also want to watch out for the Shang-Chi over here. So I get Shang-Chi ability blocked, or I got Star-Lord T'Challa ability blocked, rather. I'm going to go in with the ultimate, and that almost pretty much nukes down Shang-Chi. So he's not really anything to worry about anymore. And now the other one you want to worry about is the Winter Soldier. And Winter Soldier over here, believe it or not, again, he's one of the ones that hit really hard. So if he hits with your ultimate, depending on who he hits, he has the ability to one-shot them. So you just want to be mindful of that. I'm going to go in, reset the turn meter just a little bit, and now I'm going to kind of go into the point of I'm going to start saving cooldowns. Again, the ones we've mentioned, we're going to save the special for both Hulkbuster and Deathlock. We are going to save the ultimates for both Viv and Vision. And then we will be ready to go into the boss node. And the boss node, again, can be kind of tricky RNG-wise, but we'll go in, see what happens, and yeah, so that's node 2. Pretty simple. I do think it is probably not the best idea to kind of go in and raid sim the tech section. At least, I don't know, I guess I'm a little bit more cautious with that. I'm not really a fan of the raid sims, especially now that really, you're only doing a couple nodes a day. Looks like we are frozen, so hopefully we don't get an error. I'll be right back once this finished loading. All right, y'all, we are back. Sorry about that. Just seemed to be a little bit of lag. So we'll go ahead, go into the last tech node. It'll be the boss node. Again, this is one of those things where, where Doom is involved, there's really no shame in a 2-tap. Looking here, looks like I did have an alliance mate go in there. So cooldowns will not be necessarily the way you would walk into the node. Normally, I wouldn't heal, but it is push day, so I don't mind using that energy. But normally I could go into this and, again, it's one of those things of the way my alliance runs these raids is that you really don't need to heal. I mean, as long as you're doing a little bit of damage into the boss section, you should be fine. So we'll go in, kind of some key things to do on this node. You definitely want to get the ability block on Doom, and then basically kind of start extending it. And you're going to do that with Iron Man's ultimate, or with his special, rather. Once Doom is kind of ability blocked and you've got a couple on him, Doom kind of becomes a little neutered. He does still hit fairly hard, especially in 3.4, so you don't want to leave him on the field too long, but you don't have to worry so much about him doing his time platform. So we got the ability block there pretty quickly. And now we're just going to kind of start, apparently have our Vivision die. Might be one of those bad RNG situations, but let's see if we can at least get Doom down. And we should be able to get Doom down. And once Doom is down, this node does become a pretty easy 2-tap. We kind of just had some bad RNG there. Let's see. All right. And this is definitely, I mean, I would say of the tech nodes, this is obviously the hardest. If we're able to get Doom down, we'll quit out and kind of do a second tap. If we lose one more character, though, we're going to chalk this up to bad RNG, and we'll basically retreat and then restart the node, which I think is probably what's going to end up happening. But let's see. Okay, Doom is like holding on, and he's going to time platform here. Just make sure. Yeah, time platform. So we're going to go in, we're going to do a little retreat, and I'm going to chalk that up to some bad RNG, and let's go in and do it a second attempt. Again, like I said, unfortunately, that's kind of become the nature of Doom 3, especially when you talk about the higher difficulties. You really do run into some RNG stuff, and my Viv, I want to say, is... I mean, she's 6 stars, 5 red, so it's not like she's, really low, but it just kind of happens that way sometimes. And that's why I really, as I was mentioning before we paused, that's really why I don't like the raid sim so much when you talk about the higher difficulties of Doom, is because a lot of it really kind of becomes RNG, and you can't judge the RNG when you're raid simming. So... Personally, I kind of avoid Raid Sim in Doom 3. Just my personal preference. But alright, let's see if we have some better RNG this time. Hopefully, Viv won't get targeted and kind of nuked down. And so far, we're doing a little better. And the other thing, too, that you lose, if Viv kind of dies pretty early, you're not able to do that blind, which really kind of helps the Bionic Avengers mitigate their damage intake. So let's see. This one is not going much better. We just lost Hulkbuster over there. Let's see, though, again, if I'm able to at least get Doom down, I'll have at least accomplished kind of what I want to for a, single tap, and then it would just be kind of a matter of cleaning up the node and coming in with a second tap. So let's see what we're able to do. Alright, we're stuck behind a taunt, which is unfortunate, but the good thing is Doom is at least still ability blocked. We'll go in here, kind of get some splash damage on Doom over there. And we've got Doom down to the yellow, so we've got him pretty close to the death threshold over here. We are down out of ability blocks, though, so this is kind of shaping up to be... I mean, I think definitely another 2-tap, unless I just kind of had 2 fights of bad RNG, but the odds of that are... not that they're impossible, but, yeah. Alright, that's unfortunate. Alright, let's see. Let me see where I am energy-wise. We might go in with a second tap. I honestly don't remember having this much difficulty with the boss node on 3.4. Yeah. Now, again, another thing too, all of my raid teams are level 90, at least G15. In some cases, like some of the characters are G16, obviously. Let's just go ahead, refresh some energy. And again, it's push day, so this is kind of all about, pushing your roster, testing those resources. So... again, I don't mind doing this on push day, but this isn't something I would be doing probably on the regular basis, as that's not sustainable. I would just kind of wait for one of my alliance mates to kind of go in there for a second tap, and, worst case, I could kind of always go in with the old tech raid team, which is just kind of that, like, hodgepodge of just random tech characters. But let's see, hopefully we can at least get Doom down with the second tap over here. Now, my cooldowns are all kinds of messed up. I mean, I obviously, wasn't paying attention because I was going into this node with the mindset of a single tap, and it has been a while since I've done 3.4, just kind of got back from vacation, so that's also a little rusty in that regards, but anyway. Doom should not be a problem. Doom obviously has some of the longer cooldowns in the game, so he's not really a focus now that he's done his ultimate already. He's basically kind of been neutered, but we will still want to kind of get him down, just because he does hit kind of hard, and... as mentioned in previous sections, Ultron can also be very dangerous when he does his ultimate, so we want to be mindful of that as well. So now that Ultron is on the field, I am going to basically get an ability block on him, and he is a tech character, so if I can get the ability block from Vision on him, it will be for 2 turns, and that should be enough to kind of handle him. So he is ability blocked. I don't have to worry about him now. I'm going to go and let's go ahead and get the blinds out. And that did actually kill Ultron once, which is semi-unfortunate, but we should be able to finish him off here. So Ultron is no longer a problem. And yeah, so pretty easy to tap. In theory, had I not healed, another one of my raid mates would have been able to, or alliance mates, would have been able to come in here and basically kind of clean up this section with their own Bionic Avengers. So it's kind of just a matter of, you can either 2-tap this one of 2 ways. First way is you are able to nuke down Doom. Second way is you basically just get Doom to do his time platform, and then the node kind of becomes pretty simple. So, we're seeing here, this is a done deal. We'll go in, finish these 2, and then we'll hop on over to Balerion, and we'll kind of see the Mystic section. It really hasn't changed too much. You can kind of do it either one of 2 ways. You can do it with the old school New Warriors and Eternals. You can also do it with an Eternal, Morgan Le Fay, Dormammu combo. You can also do it with a Darkhold. You can do it with a Dormhold hybrid. So there's really there's a lot of Mystic options at the moment. Mystic probably actually has the most to choose from versus... like any of the other sections. But let's go on over to Balerion. And we've got Balerion over here, and we are in the Mystic section, obviously. And I'm just going to kind of adjust this just a hair. All right, so Balerion, I typically like to go in. I like to do the New Warrior Eternal hybrid just because I think the cooldowns are a little bit shorter, and I do like having the ultimate available with Deathpool, and it basically allows you to one-shot the Dormammu that's going to be in the boss node. And once that Dormammu is down, that node becomes a pretty simple one-tap or a very easy two-tap. So we're going to go in and just kind of do these nodes fairly quick. I know this video is running rather long, but anyway, just kind of, it is what it is. So this one again, we like to do kind of save cooldowns a little bit. I'm not going to ult with Icarus on turn 1 because it's not going to kill anyone. And mainly when you use Icarus's ult, the main goal is to basically have that, him to do it twice. So I'll kind of hold off a little bit until they're a little bit weaker. Primary targets on this one is definitely going to be Mr. Sinister. Don't want him cloning anyone, especially in 3.4. We are not going to use Dagger's special, as that's kind of one of our big kind of like heal mechanics. And now that Sinister is red, we should be able to either kill Sinister or Red Guardian, which we got both of them. We got the 2-tap. Deathpool will now go in and start pinging. And this first node is pretty much cleared out. So at this point, we will again kind of go into saving those cooldowns. But I will kind of keep building charges for Deathpool. So if Deathpool does have her ultimate available again, we'll definitely use that. We want Deathpool to basically have her 5 charges by the time we get to the boss node. And we don't need any heals. So again, we can kind of go in here and just basic, or anything that has kind of like a lower cooldown, so like 3-turn cooldowns, I don't mind using because those will be basically refreshed. And Sinister is down, and now we can basically start going after the multiple men. And this one, I'm just going to I want to get rid of those Death Proofs pretty early, so I did go in with that special, and basically, it doesn't matter which multiple man you target first. I just kind of go after the weaker one. And basically, as you kill these, kind of 2 things are happening. Obviously, he's summoning his dupes. The benefit to the dupes is that once they are killed, you'll basically start building up your energy, and it'll really kind of basically have most of your cooldowns pretty much refreshed by the time you go into the next node. And again, if I do get to the point where, for some reason, if I do start losing some HP, I always have the ability to use Dagger's special, and that'll give me a little bit of healing. But it really shouldn't be needed on this first node. So we'll go in and finish these guys off. Again, when we do have the Deathpool ultimate available, we will always use that until we get to the 5 charges, which I think she's at 4 here. So basically, she'll have the 5 charges at the start of the next match. And basically, we won't use her ultimate again until we get to the last node. And then we'll use that on Dormammu. Alright, so we'll finish off this last multiple man. And you'll notice here, Cloak has taken a little bit of damage. So on Dagger's next turn, I'll actually go ahead and use her special. That way, just to give Cloak a little bit of healing. So we'll go in, we'll do the special, take out most of these multiple men. It does get Cloak up to full health, and then the pings from Dagger basically finish that off. So we will start the next node. Okay, we're loading in here on node 2. Again, this node is, I would say, fairly simple. Occasionally you do run into our favorite word, RNG, and occasionally Deathpool will get targeted. I believe it's the second wave that can sometimes be a little tricky, but if you have your cooldowns kind of ready to go, this one shouldn't be too bad. Main thing you kind of want to keep in mind, you don't want to touch Deathpool's ultimate because we are now at 5 charges. So again, kind of the same thing as the last node. You don't really ever want to open with Icarus's ultimate unless there's a lot of buffs on the field, which obviously in this case there are no buffs. So we don't want to open with that just because, there's no sense in it. He's not going to kill anyone that is at full health, so I kind of normally save it until there's a little bit weaker. So like now, I'm going to basically target Taskmaster, as Taskmaster does obviously have the ability to blind, and this team does not really have a good, dispel method. So you definitely don't want to get blinded. That can be kind of dangerous. And we'll go in here, we will pop the ultimate. We should be able to kill this red skull over there, which we did, which then triggers the second pop-off, which now Deathpool starts popping off and taking everyone out. We will again, I want to watch out, these Zemos hit pretty hard and they ability block. Again, you don't want to be stuck behind any type of debuffs. So we'll try to basically kind of get rid of these Zemos early. And we did get ability blocked over there from Kate Bishop, so that'll be a little unfortunate, but we should be able to bounce back from that pretty quickly. We need a little bit of a heal on Cloak, so we did use Dagger's special there. Let's go ahead and get rid of Adam Warlock and kind of work down this Kate a little bit. And then the other one we want to watch out for too, we want to watch out for the Magneto. He's pretty easy to take out, but you don't want him doing his ultimate either, as again, those blinds can be really dangerous. And we just had some bad RNG. We just lost Deathpool over there. Again, that's kind of one of those things that happens. It's weird. A lot of these raid characters that were really something amazing kind of when they came out are really kind of, I guess, starting to show their age already with how squishy some of them are. And by that I mean even characters like Kestrel, where Kestrel was insane when she first came out, and now she's a little squishy, and we are coming into a horrible disaster here, so we're going to go ahead and quit out. That actually should have been one where I actually retreated. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clean this up with Darkhold. That's kind of a nice thing about Mystic, is if you do run into those RNG situations and you're maybe not in a push day, you're not doing a push day, and you don't want to use your heals, what you can do then is there's so many other Mystic teams, you can kind of go in and just clean up. Pretty simple. Another team that, kind of works equally as well is going to be that kind of hybrid of Darkhold and, it's kind of Darkhold, Eternals, and New Warrior, well, Deathpool of the New Warriors, works pretty well as, also. But I've just been using the kind of old raid team. I like to use it as my initial attempt, just because, if they go through and there's not that RNG problem, they do really well. And worst case scenario, it's always an easy cleanup. Something I guess you could also do, too, is kind of on that first node, use the New Warriors and Eternals and kind of just get your charges up with Deathpool. And then you could actually, if you wanted, you could do the second node with Darkhold. And if Darkhold wasn't able to fully clear it, you could then probably very easily clean it up with the New Warriors and Eternals and then have them still ready for that last node. But we'll finish up our cleanup here. I'll be right back when the cleanup is done and we'll talk about that last node. All right, y'all, we're back. We are on that last node. I just refreshed my team real quick on Balerion, and this node has already been tapped once, so we'll kind of see what's happened when we load in. But normally when I would go in, and if it would be my first attempt on this node, basically as long as you have those charges up with Deathpool, the main goal is to basically knock out Dormammu, and then once you knock out Dormammu, the node is fairly easy. You do obviously still run into issues of possibly timing out, and we are loading in. It's a little unfortunate. We're loading in, and Dormammu already has charges up, which definitely makes this node a little bit more challenging. Not impossible, but just a little bit more challenging. So we'll take Dormammu out real quick. The reason I say it makes it a little more challenging when he has his charges is because, as you saw with Icarus over here, he basically has all these debuffs now. And I think BlueStacks is going to freeze on me. So we might be right back. Well, in typical fashion, that froze. So we are back. We're kind of reloading this fight now. That seems to happen to me occasionally on BlueStacks still. It's a little annoying, but I mean, it is what it is. So we'll go back in, kind of the same thing. Basically, we will still target Dormammu. Icarus is still going to have a lot of those debuffs put on him, and that's because of the charge mechanic with Dormammu. So it can be a little bit easier when you don't have to contend with the debuffs, but it still should be pretty manageable. Like I said, there's, for whatever reason, I don't know why there's this like huge mentality of like, oh, you need to always be able to like one tap a node. That's not the case. Like, especially in Doom 3.4, I think as long as you are able to kind of set up a nice 2-tap, I think you're kind of in a good spot. And this one is already going actually a little worse than my initial attempt, which is also normally my luck. Basically what happened was Polaris over here went down into the red, and what happened there was that actually triggered Miss Marvel's passive, and she taunted. So for Deathpool's first turn, I wasn't able to target Dormammu. Still okay, we should be able to get him over here on our second turn. Assuming she doesn't taunt again, which she does. We should be able to kind of take her out, though, by the time Deathpool gets her next turn. And then basically what we'll do, we'll go in, we'll do the ultimate, and basically take out Dormammu over here. And now that Dormammu is gone, hopefully we don't freeze again, and we should be able to kind of finish up this node. Really, this first wave is kind of really just about kind of taking them out twice, as, Dormammu obviously has that revive mechanic. And once this next wave drops, I want to basically go ahead and get a blind on Shang-Chi, and that kind of neuters him over here. And my next big thing, though, is I want to get a stun on Gambit, and the reasoning behind that is the new warriors are fairly squishy, and without that stun on Gambit, basically he would, like, ping them to death, and we don't want that. So we'll do the ultimate. Hopefully we kill... Okay, we didn't kill Dazzler. I overestimated that. Was hoping to kill Dazzler and get that second ping, but it's okay. Let's see... Let's go ahead. We're going to focus on Maria Hill. Get her out of the way real quick. And we're going to still go ahead and target Gambit. And should have some nice blinds, which the Phantom X's dodge quite well in this raid, which is crazy because, like, when you're playing Phantom X, they don't dodge nearly as well, but that's okay. We'll go in, we'll get rid of Gambit, and once Gambit is down, it becomes a pretty easy fight. Ooh, that was nasty. That hurt. Ooh, that was real nasty. But anyway, Gambit should kind of go down with this. Got Gambit out of the way. Now, Falcon is probably going to kill the first 3. I'm actually surprised he didn't. We're going to lose our team at this point, which is okay. Like I said, it's now a nice, easy 2-tap for someone. And I think that's kind of another mentality, like I was saying earlier, people need to get out of like, boss nodes always need to be a 1-tap. I don't think that's necessarily the case when you're talking about the way we're running our raids. The way we're running them in particular, there's 7 other people in the lane with you also, especially when we're talking boss nodes. Yeah, maybe the non-boss nodes, there's still 3 other people. So kind of in the perfect world of things, between 4 players, you should be able to tackle the node. So this kind of like stress of like, oh, I always need to one tap, I need to one tap. I don't subscribe to that. I think as long as you're able to set up a node for like a nice, easy 2-tap, especially for like one of your alliance mates, I think is a better, kind of more realistic goal, and it puts less pressure on you. We'll finish up this fight. I mean, the Eternals might be able to take out one more, which I'll go for Dazzler if I can get rid of her. But again, like I said, worst case, this is a real easy 2-tap for someone, whether it be myself going in with Darkhold or one of my alliance mates going in with whatever team, they have. They only have to deal with a Phantom X and a Capsam. We'll basically end the video too after this. I don't really think there's a point in talking about the mutant section, as right now, for lack of a better words, like the mutant nodes are basically a shit show, and there's really not much I think to talk about that. But hopefully y'all have found this at least helpful and informative, and maybe kind of giving you some different perspectives on the Doom section. I do apologize that this video certainly has gotten a little bit long. We're a little bit over the hour mark, so apologize on that. But if you did stick around rather all the way to the end, I want to thank you so very much. Hopefully, again, you did find this video helpful. If you did, feel free to please like and subscribe. Greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much for watching. Take it easy, and I'll see you next time.